For my people, ale was more than just a drink. History tells us that civilization began with the plow and the grain.
But what if the textbooks are wrong?
What if we didn't settle down to bake bread, but to brew a revolution?
For thousands of years, this golden liquid was seen as a gift from the gods.
A forbidden medicine, and a catalyst for the birth of empires. This isn't just the story of a drink. It's the secret history of humanity.
History, as we are taught it in school, is a clean, orderly progression. We are told that roughly 12,000 years ago, during the Neolithic Revolution, humans made a logical choice. They stopped wandering and started planting. They settled in the Fertile Crescent to grow grain, bake bread, and build the walls of civilization. But what if that story is wrong? What if the agricultural revolution wasn't fueled by a hunger for bread, but by a thirst for something far more transformative? In the shadows of the world's oldest temple, Göbekli Tepe, archaeologists found something that challenges what we know about our origins. They discovered massive stone vats, some capable of holding up to 40 gallons of liquid. Chemical analysis revealed traces of calcium oxalate, a byproduct associated with soaked and processed grain. This wasn't simply a bakery. It may have been one of the world's earliest temple breweries. The discovery suggests that before humans knew how to build great cities, they may already have understood the power of fermentation. Perhaps we didn't settle down only to eat. Perhaps we also settled down to brew. This is the story of the liquid that may have helped intoxicate humanity into building civilization. The discovery of beer was likely one of the most important accidents in human history. Imagine a nomadic tribe living in the Zagros Mountains. They gather wild barley and wheat and store it inside a clay vessel. Then a sudden rainstorm soaks the grain. Under the heat of the sun, the wet grain begins to sprout. Today, we call this process malting. Malting converts complex starches into simple sugars. Then, another secret ingredient arrives: wild yeast. Yeast is everywhere. It lives on the skin of fruit, in the air around us, and on the hands of the gatherer. When this invisible fungus lands on wet, sugary grain, it begins to feed. It releases carbon dioxide and leaves behind ethanol. When the nomad eventually returns to the
This
vessel,
is not just a
the
simple
grain
drink.
is no longer dry.
It is a gift from the
Inside
gods.
is a bubbling, golden liquid. When they taste it, they experience something completely new. A feeling of warmth, a sense of euphoria, and perhaps a connection to the divine. To ancient people, it may have felt like a gift from the gods. Today, we call it the birth of the brew. To understand why beer became such an important part of human life, we have to understand the harsh reality of the ancient world. Clean water was never guaranteed. Rivers such as the Tigris and Euphrates could carry parasites, bacteria, and other dangerous contaminants. Drinking untreated water could be a gamble. But beer was different. The brewing process often involved heating the liquid. Fermentation also changed its chemical environment. This could make some drinks safer than untreated water. Although ancient beer was not completely free from risk, beer was more than just a drink. It was often described as liquid bread. It was thick, unfiltered, and full of suspended grain and yeast. It provided calories, vitamins, minerals, and other nutrients. For laborers working long days under the scorching sun, beer could provide both hydration and energy. In many ancient societies, it became part of the daily food supply. It was, in many ways, the ultimate ancient energy drink. In the great city-states of Sumer, Uruk, and Lagash, brewing was deeply connected to everyday life and religion. For generations, brewing was strongly associated with women. These women were among the original masters of fermentation. They understood grain, water, malting, and the mysteries of the brewing vessel. They also served ninkasi, the Sumerian goddess of beer. Her name has been interpreted as meaning the lady who fills the mouth. Around 1800 BCE, a remarkable hymn to Ninkasi was written onto clay tablets. But this hymn was more than a religious song. Hidden within its verses were instructions for making beer. It is often considered one of the oldest surviving descriptions of the brewing process. The hymn describes preparing dough, processing batter, soaking malt, and pouring the finished beer into large vessels. In a world without written recipe books, knowledge could survive through songs. The brewing women became central figures within their communities. They controlled knowledge surrounding one of the most important daily resources. But as societies changed, commercial production and political power increasingly moved into male-dominated institutions. Over time, much of the social power once associated with women brewers would gradually be taken away. Sumerian beer looked nothing like the clear, filtered lager we know today. It was thick, cloudy, and often filled with pieces of grain, husks, and yeast. To drink it more easily, people used one of history's most distinctive drinking tools, the long straw. Archaeological evidence shows that elaborate drinking straws were used in Mesopotamia thousands of years ago. People could gather around a communal vessel and drink together. The straw helped them draw liquid from beneath the floating grain and husks. But the act was more than simple consumption. Sharing a vessel could represent community, hospitality, and ritual. Beer brought people together. It helped create spaces where merchants, workers, elites, and ordinary people could interact. It encouraged trade. It played a role in religious ceremonies. And in crowded settlements where thousands of people were beginning to live side by side, shared drinking rituals could help strengthen social bonds. In that sense, the beer vat became one of the ancient world's earliest social spaces. As Mesopotamian civilization became more complex, beer became part of law, economics, and government. The famous Code of Hammurabi included regulations concerning tavern keepers and the sale of beer. Beer sellers who committed certain offenses could face severe punishments. But the popular claim that tavern owners were routinely drowned in their own bad beer is an exaggeration. The actual laws were more specific, dealing with issues such as cheating, criminal activity, and the handling of payments. Still, the existence of these laws reveals something important. Beer mattered enough to be regulated by the state. It was used as payment. Workers could receive rations that included beer. It appeared in religious offerings. It played a role in celebrations and ceremonies. And it could even become part of marriage and household exchanges. By the time the Sumerian world gave way to Babylonian power, beer was no longer simply an accidental discovery. It had become part of the machinery of civilization. A drink, a food, a wage, a religious offering, a social ritual, and a source of economic power. The golden liquid that may have begun as soaked grain in a forgotten vessel had become something far greater. It had entered the temple, the marketplace, the home, and the halls of government. Beer was no longer just something humanity drank. In many ways, it had become one of the things that helped humanity build the world itself. The history of beer is far more than the history of a beverage. It is a story woven into the rise of human civilization itself. From the earliest evidence of brewing near Göbekli Tepe to the organized breweries of Sumer and Egypt, beer was much more than a source of enjoyment. It nourished workers, strengthened communities, supported religious ceremonies, and became an important part of trade, government, and daily survival. Whether or not beer was the original reason humans embraced agriculture remains a subject of debate, but its influence on the development of early societies is undeniable. As civilizations grew, beer evolved alongside them. It became a form of payment, a sacred offering to the gods, a source of nutrition, and an economic resource controlled by powerful institutions. In Egypt, it helped sustain the workforce that built some of history's greatest monuments. In Mesopotamia, it was protected by law and celebrated through hymns. During the Middle Ages, brewing preserved knowledge, supported monasteries, and gradually transformed from a household craft into a commercial industry. The journey of beer also reflects broader changes in society. It reveals shifting roles of women, the rise of organized religion, the growth of governments, and the increasing control of trade and industry. What began as a simple accident of nature eventually became a force that influenced culture, politics, economics, and social life across continents. Ultimately, the story challenges us to rethink familiar ideas about the origins of civilization. Bread may have fed humanity, but beer may have helped bring people together, inspire cooperation, and build the foundations of complex societies. More than just a drink, it became a symbol of human creativity, innovation, and our ability to transform simple natural resources into something extraordinary. In many ways, the story of beer is also the story of civilization itself, one fermented over thousands of years and still enjoyed around the world today.